evening, everyone. How are you doing today? It hasn't stormed yet, right? That's coming tonight and tomorrow.
I'm very sorry.
We'll wait and see what happens, I guess. That's all we can do. First thing, as usual, I will return some graded homework. And then we'll move on from there to learn more about augmented sixth chords today. Always fun, of course. All right, so today, before I delve into the homework, I would like to maybe do what I call, I don't know, 10-minute maybe, a 10-minute very efficient, quick review of a couple principles about the augmented sixth chords that we talked about last class. And then I'll just spell a few, and then after that I'll come back to the homework so you can ask your questions if you have any questions on that. So let's start by remembering that what scale degrees, doesn't matter if you're in major key or minor key, what two scale degrees are always used to form the augmented sixth interval found in these chords? Lay and key, yeah, that's right, very good. So if I'm in the key of G minor, in order to spell any augmented sixth chord, I need lay on the bottom, which in this key is E flat, and the flat is already in the key signature. And phi, or the raised fourth scale degree in this key, is going to be C sharp. C sharp. And phi always requires an accidental. Whether you're major or minor, always requires an accidental. Okay, so don't forget about those. Now, if I want to turn this chord into an Italian sixth chord, all I have to do is add one pitch to the interval of the augmented sixth layered key. Which pitch do I add to get an Italian? Do. That's right. So all I got to do is add a G, and poof, there you have one of the three augmented sixth chords. You have the Italian sixth. Let's see here. How about the French sixth? Still using lay and phi. What two pitches do I add to this interval to get the French sixth? Do and re. So there's do and re. And that was do over here. And then finally, last but not least, to spell a German augmented sixth, I need to add the two pitches do and what? Me. So in G minor, so D flat. Flat already is in the key signature, so we have me, we have do, and we have lay. And then we have the three types of augmented sixth chord. Yes, sir.
So French augmented sixth is lay do, re phi.
That's correct.
Okay, I learned it wrong.
Okay, what did you think it was?
I thought it was re. So
It is re is one of the pitches. lay do
I
re.
haven't switched around yet on that, so I've done
Okay.
my homework.
Okay. All right, let's see here. Talked about fee always requires an accidental. Just the one thing about, if I were to spell any of these chords in, let's change the key signature, if I were to spell any of these chords in G major, let's say I'm going to spell the German sixth in G major, how does this chord differ in terms of the way it appears or looks? Okay, good. Lay has an accidental because I need to. La is the normal sixth scale degree in major keys, but I always need lay in case. Do stays, yep, no accidental. Means May needs an accidental, good. And then finally Fee will always need an accidental. So again, to spell a German sixth in a major key, you need to use three accidentals. I think I remember years, and this was many, decades ago, when I first started learning these chords, I was always confused as, if I was in the minor key or the major key, I was always like, do I have to lower the bottom note? Or do I leave it alone? And I just want to make it as clear as possible, I guess, that when you're in minor keys, the bottom note lay, you do not need to adjust with an accidental. It's already what it needs to be. But in major keys, you do need to lower that note and half step with an accidental. All right, now let's take a look at the handout that you have. You have some spelling of some augmented sixth chords on top. And then you have a few more, including, I put a Neapolitan and a borrowed chord. And then finally a short analysis by Brahms. By the way, Brahms is a late Romantic composer, so if you have some strange chords, or if you have chords that go to chords that you think seem a little bit weird, that's okay, because that's kind of what happened in the late Romantic period. Until finally in the 20th century, tonality got kind of broken and things changed drastically from then on. But does anyone have any questions about any of these sections on this? The first chord of the third measure. Okay. Yes, that one has a lot of accidentals. We are in, I think I even say in the instructions there, we are E major the entire way for this short passage. And from the bottom up, I've got C sharp, I've got A sharp, I've got F sharp, there's another A sharp up top, but then there's finally another pitch in E. So it looks like it's a seventh chord, 4-note chord. Now, does this chord naturally fit in the key of E major? And the answer is no. It would if it had an A natural, but that A sharp takes it out of the key, because A sharp doesn't belong to E major. So again, my first thought is we only know a few chromatic chords right now. We know secondary dominants and leading tone chords. We know some borrowed chords now. And now we also know the Neapolitan. And we also know augmented sixth chords. Well, could this be an augmented sixth chord at all? The answer is no. And the reason it couldn't be an augmented sixth chord is because it doesn't contain the pitches lay. It does contain the pitch Fee, but it does not contain the pitch lay. It has law, technically. So it's not an augmented sixth chord. It can't be a Neapolitan chord either, because that's just a triad. It only has 3 pitches. I would usually go through the chromatic chords in the order that we've learned them. My first thought was, is this a secondary chord? And the answer is yes, it does function as a secondary chord. So if I put it in order, in root position, F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, E, it turns out to be a dominant 7th sound. So it's going to be a 5/7 of something. And specifically, what inversion is that? Second inversion, so it's going to be a 5/3 or something. Now go to the root. F sharp is the dominant or the fifth above what pitch? B. And B would be the root of what Roman numeral in the key of E? That's right. So I would analyze that chord as a 5-4-3 of 5. Now, does it go to a 5? No. That's kind of what I was talking about before. In late romantic music, sometimes composers just, they're not really as concerned about the functional progression that they're writing as they are about the sound and the voice reading that they have. Okay, so I think that's a good question. Other questions about this? I want to make sure. I think I am. Yes, I am collecting this.
Yes, so we do the other chord in that measure?
Sure. These are the two most interesting chords in the whole passage, I think. The next chord changes the C sharp to C natural. We still have an A sharp. This time we still have an E, but this time the F sharp changes to G. And I think it's G natural. Lots of chromatic pitches in this chord. The G natural does not fit in the key, the A sharp does not fit in the key, and the C natural does not fit in the key. We're in a major key. We've got a chromatic chord that requires 3 accidentals. Let's see if it fits the bill for one of these augmented 6 chords. Specifically the German, right? The German is the one that takes 3 accidentals in major key. Well, in the key of E major, this is the lowered 6th scale degree, so that is lay. This is the raised 4th scale degree, so that is Phi. Does Phi always have to be the highest note? No, it just has to be above lay, because lay is going to be on the bottom. Looks like this note is Do in the key of E major, and this note is the lowered 3rd scale degree, so that's May. Lay, Do, May. What do you think? Yeah, I think it fits the bill exactly, so I would call that, there's your augmented 6th chord that Brahms uses towards the end of the By the way, I don't know if you know or if you even care to know, but in analysis examples now, when I grade them, regular diatonic chords like 1s and 5s and 2s and all that stuff, they're usually worth the least amount of points. It doesn't mean I want you to skip them or anything. But chords like this, and Neapolitans, and chords like this, they're usually worth 3 or 4 points apiece. That's what we're focusing on. So they're worth a little more. Yes. Doing the number 5 in section 2 is asking me to spell a borrowed chord in the key of B major. Technically, 2 half diminished 6/5 only occurs in minor keys. In the major keys, just a 2-6-5 is what you normally get, not the half diminished 5. And I think it tells me to add the key signature, so I know that I need 5 sharps: F, C, G, D, A. Okay, let me think about this chord. I'm going to write the notes down here before I put it on the staff. C sharp is the root. That's it would be 2. How do I spell a half diminished 7th chord? Well, it's a minor third up, another minor third above that note, but then a major third above that note. Yeah, so it looks like C sharp, E natural, G natural, and B natural. Okay, putting it on the staff, making sure I get the right accidentals, given my key signature here. I'm putting it in first inversion also, so I need the E on the bottom. Then I need actually a G natural. The B is fine as it is, and the C is already sharp from the key signature. So I think that's how I would answer or spell that chord. I do notice though, that's a good question. I do notice on quizzes and even on homework, it seems like these borrowed 2 chords sometimes sometimes the spelling is just really wacky. I don't know if some of us are confused in how to spell it. Yeah. Just. Okay, so the bottom analysis example? Yeah. Okay, so it's the chord right after this one. Yeah. Okay. All right, let me think about this for 1 second. Okay, so we have B on the bottom, and the B is doubled, and then we have G natural, and then we have an E. We really only have 3 pitches. Now, does an E, G natural B chord normally fit in E major? No, it doesn't. But what are the chromatic chords, some of the chromatic chords we learned right before the borrowed chords, lowly mixed chords. Could I explain this chord as being borrowed from the parallel minor E minor? Yes. And how would I analyze that then? Yeah, minor 1. Do I have to put any other special symbols like, yo, Dr. Rooch, this is that borrowed chord, don't work. No, you don't have to do anything like that. Just the quality, the type of the Roman numeral is enough to show that it's borrowed from the parallel.
So if we put 6-4 behind that.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I forgot the inversion, thank you. It's 1/6-4. I was just so excited about the fact that it's a borrowed one. All right, I better go ahead and move on and collect this now since we're well into the class period. So make sure your name is on it and I'll pick it up. We're great trying to get it back to you on Friday. Thank you. Did you finish changing this? All right, so today what we need to do is we need to learn how to part write the 3 types of augmented 6 chords. And there's basically one overarching, I guess you could say it's a rule, kind of like a guideline that needs to be taken care of and done for every type, all 3 types of augmented 6 chords. So we'll take a look at an example maybe with an Italian 6 first. And then I think the rest of the augmented 6 chords after that shouldn't be too hard because the same procedure kind of follows for the rest of them. So I better start out with a grand stack here so I can get 4-void texture. Boy, there's nothing like a brand new language. And this is nothing like a brand new. No, it is. It's pretty good one. Have you ever seen, well, this is way before your time probably. Did you guys know the show Cheers? Well, I've seen all the reruns, and there's one character in one episode of Cheers, his name is Frasier, and he's in the bar and he pulls out a cigar, and he puts it by his nose and he smells it, and he's like, ah, there's nothing like a good cigar or something. He smells it and he's like, this is nothing like a good cigar. He throws it in the trash. Something like that. I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, Frasier had his own spin-off too.
Yeah, he did. He had his own show for many years now. That's right. Okay, we're going to do our examples here in the key of G minor. And the first question becomes, if I'm going to part write or even voice before I part write an Italian 6, if I'm going to voice an Italian 6, well, how many different pitches are there in Italian? But I always part write in 4 voices, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. which means whenever I write an Italian 6, I need to double one of these notes. And the note that is always doubled in an Italian 6 is do. Double do. All right, but you tell me, what does the bass pitch have to be? Remember, lay always has to be on the bottom. In this key, B flat, that's right. And the flat's already in the key signature. So that's lay. Again, just like you spell them on a regular staff, not even in 4 voices, lay has to be on the bottom always. Okay, then I need phi to create the augmented 6 interval, and phi can be in the tenor, the alto, or the soprano. It doesn't matter. It just has to be above lay. And it will be above lay when lay is in the bass. But there's no special rule like with, remember when we part right the Neapolitan chord? I want you to put that chromatic pitch raw always in the highest voice. There's no rule like that. So phi can go wherever it fits in terms of a voice range. I actually put my phi in the alto for this chord, and phi in this key of D minor is G sharp. It's the raised 4th scale of G. G natural is regular 4, G sharp is raised 4. So now I need do, and do in this key is D. And what did I say we're supposed to double? Double do. So I'm going to put another D in the chord, and there we have an Italian 6 in 4 voices. I don't know if it helps if I put the labels on the scale of these and pitches here. So I got 1 lay, 1 phi, and 2 do's. Now, is it okay that this interval from lay up to phi is technically an augmented 6 plus an octave? Yeah, that's okay. Don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be exact. Does anyone remember from last class, what are the function of all these augmented 6 chords? Is it tonic, predominant, or dominant? Predominant. So these chords like to go to 5. So let's go ahead and take it to a 5 chord. In the key O, this is where I got to give you the major principle here. With any augmented 6 chord, lay is going to be in the bass, find phi somewhere up above. It could be in any of the top 3 voices. You take lay and you phi, that augmented 6 interval, and you move them outward in contrary motion to an octave. So lay is always going to come down by a half step and go to sol of the key. Phi, wherever it is, whatever voice it's in, is going to come up, go up by a half step, also to sol of the key. So that this dissonant interval of an augmented 6, it resolves outward by half step in contrary motion to an octave on the dominant pitch. That's really the overarching principle on how to write these chords correctly. Now I just have to fill in the remaining notes for my 5 chord. Well, I need a C sharp. I need a T. Where would you? It looks like I could put. I could really do any one in any of the voices. If I put an E in the top voice, is this parallel fifths right there? No, what kind of fifths? It's, yeah, well this is a diminished fifth, this is a perfect fifth, so it's called unequal fifths. And unequal fifths are permitted as long as the bass is not involved. So technically this would be okay. If you don't even want to hint at fifths or any unequal fifths, you can put this one on T, and you can put this one on E to G for the voice. But again, the primary importance, what I'd like you to get into the habit of doing when you part write augmented 6 chord, is you take lay down half step to sol, find phi, whether it's in the tenor, alto, or soprano, and take it up a half step to sol. Get those 2 notes done, resolved, taken care of right away, then you only have 2 pitches left to worry about. Let's go ahead and hear what this sounds like. It's smooth, voice leading, so it's not going to sound jarring at all. Here's my augmented 6, my Italian 6, which goes to 5. And some of you, especially in choirs, you may have some augmented 6 chords that resolve and you didn't even realize it. You may not. Okay, sometimes the augmented 6 chord will go to 1-6-4 or cadential 6-4 before the 5. Can I show you how to do the go to 1-6-4 first? It's really not much different at all. You may recall that 1-6-4 chord has the same bass note as the 5 in the position. And also the same bass note, that same pitch is doubled also in 1-6-4 chord. So when an augmented 6 chord goes to a cadential 6-4, you still resolve the augmented 6 interval outward by contrary motion to an octave. Still do that. Because you need those pitches in the final chord. The only difference now is instead of an E and a C sharp, looks like I'm going to need a D and an F. And again, I could put the F in the tenor. I could put the F in the soprano. Let's do that, maybe. So it's really not much different in part rate, whether it's a 5 or a 1-6-4. And in this case, let's see, we're going to this. I can't even reach that. I should have put it in. There's the 1-6-4, and that would end up going to. Sorry. I don't know. We could do a French 6 chord in the same thing. Let's do this. I'm going to revoice the chords slightly, just for a little bit of variety. This time I'm going to put Phi, the G sharp, just for variety's sake, I'm going to put it in the tenor. What are the other 2 notes I need for a French? Do. Okay, now be careful. If you do Do here and Re here, what's wrong with that? More than an octave apart, yeah. So just be careful. All you got to do is flip them around and it'll be just fine. If I put Re there and Do here, then everything is within the space the span needs to be. Do you want to take this to a 1-6-4 or 5? Doesn't matter to me. 5? Okay. What's the first thing I should do? Okay, take Lay and Phi outward in contrary motion to an octave. So Lay is going to come down as always in half step to Sol. And this time Phi is in the tenor voice. So let's just take it up by half step to Sol. Thinking about the remaining notes we need to fill out a 5 chord, this is even smoother part writing than the Italian 6. Because I can just leave Re right where it is. I need an E in my chord. I'll have to move it. And then soprano I can take down the T. And remember to raise T in a minor key. Actually works out pretty smooth. I'm going to bring music to the piano. So here's the French 6. I don't think I need to show you the French 6 going to 1/6/4. You can do that on your own. But I do want to show you how to partwrite the German 6, because with the German 6, something is just a little bit different. Okay, we know with the German 6, we need May and Do in addition to Lay and Fi. So let me put the May right here with the key. And let me put the Do here. And let's see if we can take it to 5 right away. If I follow the principle, the overarching principle, resolving outward to sol on the octave, that doesn't seem to be a problem. But when I try to fill in the remaining notes of this chord here, I would probably put an E there and a C sharp here to spell my 5 chord. But I don't know if you see this, but I don't know if I got the right chord here. I actually created a part-writing error. I don't know if this marker is going to work, but you see between the bass and the alto, what did I write? Parallel for the fifths, that's right. And this happens just because the German 6 has the pitch May. The other ones don't have that pitch, so you don't have to worry about writing parallel fifths. But the German 6, since it contains May, when you take it immediately or directly to a 5 chord, you're always going to get parallel fifths. Is there a way to fix those? In other words, can I switch May and Lay around? Can I put Lay up here and May down here? No, because Lay has to remain fixed on the bottom. So you see how there's no way to fix these parallel fifths. So, does that mean you just give up and come? Throw in the towel and say, this is wacky stuff, can't do it. No, how did composers get around these parallel fifths? Yeah, they decided the German 6 cannot go directly to a 5. It must go to a cadential 6/4 chord first, and then 5. Okay? So let's see what happens when we take it to a cadential 6/4 or 1/6/4. Still resolve this out as normal, that doesn't change. Now, could this be any easier? What do I do with the remaining 2 notes? Do I have to move them at all? No, they stay right where they are. And therefore you don't have parallel fifths. So another really important thing I want you to remember from this point on, and you'll need to know it for the test, is the German 6 cannot go to 5 immediately. It must pass through or go through the cadential 6/4 chord first, and then the cadential 6/4 chord will go to 5.
So, just my clarification, when you were doing this inside of major key, you would do the next time on me, correct? Because you're using the magic chord.
Yeah, okay, yes, if I was in, let's do that. Let's see if we can do that quickly. Let's say I'm in D major. I think I see what you're asking. If I'm in D major, I have to have an accidental here, also on Fi, and I have to have one on May. Then when I go to the 1/6/4, you are correct. So you gotta see what you're saying there? Because now we're in major key and you're making a capital cadential 6/4. So yeah, you gotta be, again, it's very, very tricky, very simple. Yeah. What is this? Let me take my music. What does this sound like? So now, in the major key, we have the German 6, which sounds like this, and then it's going to this. I like that. I should mention, one of the reasons we do this first, we resolve the augmented six interval outward to an octave. Remember the whole point of these augmented six chords. The dominant pitch is being preceded by a half step above and a half step below. I mean, this is the whole reason for the augmented six chord in the first place, is to take these, which are a half step away from sol, and keep them to sol. That's the whole point. One underneath sol goes up by half step, the other one right above sol comes down by half step. So we did that. We talked about the German six. We talked about that. Let's take a look. I've got an in-class handout here. Let's take a look at this because I want to make sure I have enough time to get through this before we read it. All right, let's kind of divide up into two groups here. I would like, before we do that, let me just read the top few sentences. If you use augmented six chords in the progression, let's think about what kind of chord might come immediately before the augmented six. You know what augmented six chords go to, but what could you precede an augmented six chord with? It says on the top, very commonly, a chord that has la or lay in the bass is turned into an augmented six chord. Frequently, the chord being converted is a 4/6, a 5/4/3 of 5. Those would have la in the bass. And in minor, you could choose a major 6, a 4/6, a 2 half diminished chords. Any of those would work because they have lay in the bass. So this is what, there's a lot of chords to choose from. I don't want you to get too confused by all the choices. This is what I'd like you to do and what I tell my classes every year. When you need to write a progression, let's say on the test, that includes an augmented six chord, and you need to know what chord to put right before the augmented six, I want you to use, and I always want you to remember to use 4/6. So from now on, and for memory, in major keys, I want you to precede any augmented six chord with a 4/6, and in minor keys, just use the minor 4/6. It'll work really smoothly every time. That way you don't need to worry about memorizing all those other options. So for the test, I'm going to have you memorize, or you're going to need to have memorized it. The chord to write before any of the augmented six chords is always going to be a 4/6. 4/6. Okay, now, let's take a look at the top example. What is the chord that's coming right before the German 6? A 4/6, right? Could I have the first two rows, this row and this row, could I have you guys part right finish out the German 6 and part right is the two chords it's supposed to go to? And then everyone in the back row, what chord do you think you're going to precede the French 6 with in the middle example? 4/6. Could I have you guys put that in there and part right the last three chords? Let's take 5 minutes or so to do that. And let me know if you have questions, because this gives you a good practice while I'm here. by the way, what's the doubling rule for the major 4/6? The major 4/6 chord you can double anything you do, but the minor 4/6 chord you should not double the bass. Should not double the bass. Again, generally the part writing in and out of these chords is very smooth. You rarely have to use any loops. As I was walking around, those that I assigned to do this first part writing example, what is the chord that goes into the question mark blank? That has to be potential 164. It can't be a 5 because it's 36. I tried to show you that I took lay in the bass, in this key is A flat, goes down to sol, and Phi, which I put in the soprano for you guys, the F sharp, that needs to go up a half step to sol. Then the C that I have in the alto can just remain on a C, doesn't have to move. But the E flat has to go to an E natural, which is just what we were talking about here. So that E natural, that's a real sneaky accidental. And then the 164 chord can go to a 5, as it has done for hundreds and hundreds of years. Right? I would like to play this direction for you and see. Again, the part writing is smooth. I don't know that, in fact, I haven't looked, are there any leaps at all? I think it's all stepwise. Common tone? Okay, so we have. And that would end up I just really like all, especially I would love to hear, I'd love to hear like the concert car or something sing that, just to hear all those harmonic lines. That's pretty neat. All right, for those in the back row, I don't know if I gave you enough time, but this is kind of how I would do yours. Okay, we said that you want to precede your French 6 with a 4/6. So I spelled my French 6. Did I give you the notes of the French 6? B flat is lay in this key, the D major, so that's your bass. I put Phi, G sharp, I put that in the highest voice. Didn't have to, but that's where I put mine. And then I needed Do, which is D, and I needed Re, which is E. And I couldn't put the D in the tenor and then E in the alto because then they would have been, if I switched them around, they would have been over an octave apart. So I did it that way. Did you have a question?
What if I switch to alto and tenor, so put the G sharp in the tenor and the E in the soprano?
Okay, you put the G sharp in the tenor and the E in the soprano?
It'd be punchy.
Yeah, no, I think that should be fine. The question remains, once you got to the French 6 and you spelled it correctly, did you take the B flat and the bass down to A? Did you take the G sharp wherever you had it up a half step to A? That's the main thing. And then wherever your E is, that should be able to stay the same and not have to move. And then the D goes down by a half step to T to make the 5. Let's listen to this one. Yes, it is. Thank you for mentioning that. What does it say right above the second example? It says, one of the advantages of the augmented six chords is that it allows us now to harmonize a chromatic descending bass line from Do down to Sol. We know enough chords now for the bass to go Do, Ti, Te, La, Re, Sol. That's awesome. All right, does anyone have any questions about how to part write the augmented six chords? Okay, for next time, I've got a handout, and you've got just a few chords to spell in the workbook. And I don't know. Yeah, I'll wait till next time. I want to show you. I think I'm going to wait till Friday. Maybe I'll start Friday's classes. There's actually a neat video on YouTube where a guy sings a song and he uses all the augmented six chords in it. It's pretty cool. I think maybe since we're out of time here, I'll start Friday's class that way if I remember. So let me just give you the handout then, and I'll let you be on your way. Yes. Oops, sorry. All right, once you get this, you can leave. Will you come again? I do
Yeah,
have a
I just gave it
The robot is like, what computer going?